It's been a little bit since I made the last video, and in the last one I did tell you guys that I was gonna do something slightly different. So Neural DSP sent me some plugins. I got 3 of them. I got the Corey Wong, I got the Ten Henson, and then I'm forgetting the name of the bass plugin I got, but you guys will see. So the last video that I did put up, I believe it was on May 13th. I made a beat, a track. I think it was called Songwriters Should Definitely Get an MPC, or every songwriter needs an MPC. What I'm gonna be doing is taking that track, I'm gonna go through the process of me exporting stems. So I'm gonna explode the drum tracks and all of that stuff. And then I'm gonna put them onto a thumb drive. And then we're gonna go into Logic, import the track, and we're gonna affect it. We're gonna add, since I just used the dry guitars and bass, I didn't add any type of EQ or effects to it, or maybe I did some EQ but no effects. We'll go in and we'll put those in through those plugins that I got and see what we can do. Before I get into that, I just released a song. It's called One Step Closer. If you haven't checked it out, if you haven't seen the music video that's up here on the channel, please do so. Go stream it. It's streaming everywhere, and I appreciate everyone who goes and listens to it. So let's get into the video. Okay, so here we are. We got the track here. I just named it 513 Jam, whatever. Doesn't matter. So I'm on the bass track right now, and I need to go over to the drums. So I'm gonna go over to the drum track here. I'm gonna get rid of this, so we don't need to see that. And I believe I go to this pin, and right here it says explode track. So this drum track is made up of a bunch of one-shot samples, and the best way to arrange your track later is to explode that track. Now, if you guys are loop people, where you're just using drum loops, sampling and just doing it that way, and you're not chopping those samples up, you won't need to do this because your song's not really gonna have any dynamics as far as the drums are concerned, except for the ones that are already baked into whatever you sampled. So I'm just gonna hit explode track here. It's gonna do its magic. All right, so now you see it says BD606 standard vinyl. That's the bass drum sample. And now there's a clap sample. There's a hi-hat sample. So all of these have their own individual samples, individual tracks now for the samples. So now when I go to export this, it's gonna export everything individually. So what we're gonna do here, and I think I haven't done this in a little while where I have multiple sequences, because if you guys remember, on this track, there's 2 different sequences, right? So each of those sequences have their own different music in them. So I believe we're gonna have to export each sequence separately. So let's go ahead and do that. Click up here in the corner. I'm gonna go to project, just look at everything, make sure I've got everything. Yeah, there's quite a bit in here. Okay, and now we're gonna go to save, and we're gonna go to audio mixdown, right? So we're gonna select separate tracks, and I don't want to export the returns or anything. 44 kilohertz is fine. And I believe this is just gonna be the first sequence. So it's in wave, always gonna do WAV, always gonna do 24 for the bit depth. And I'm gonna put this NJW files here. That's the drive that we're working with. And then I'm gonna go here to new folder. And this is important because you don't want these to just be loose on your drive, right? You'll have, that'll give you a lot of issues. So I'm gonna name this, and this is just sequence number 1. I'm gonna hit do it, and the file name is gonna be there. Yep. We're gonna hit save. It'll take a second because it's exporting everyone individually, but won't take too long. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back. Actually, the first thing that I'm gonna do is browse. I'm gonna go to places and I'm gonna check and make sure everything's in there. So if you look at these folders, this is the way that I export everything. So these are the tracks from Daily Beats. And now that I'm looking at this, they all have the BPM listed. So I actually made a mistake. So I'm gonna have to go and change that and put the BPM on there, because otherwise I won't know what BPM it's in when I go to mess with it. So here it is, sequence 1. I'm gonna open that. And yep, that's just sequence 1. So what I'll do, I'm gonna hit main. We're gonna switch to sequence 2. And they're both 152 BPM. So I'm gonna go in here, we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna go save, audio mix down. It's already on separate tracks. And for this one, I'm gonna name it. We're gonna go to NJW files. We're gonna create a new folder. And we're gonna name it the same thing, except sequence 2. And we're gonna hit save. It's gonna do its magic. Yep, so the sequence 2 folder's inside of the sequence 1 folder. And those drums are not stemmed out. So I made a big mistake there. That's unfortunate. Explode track. We'll go back to main. We'll go here. We'll go to save. Audio mix down. I'm in separate tracks, so it should be separate tracks. We're going to export. And yep, we're in the same folder. I'm just gonna double up in here. And hopefully it does it the proper way now, because that really doesn't make any sense. Now I'm gonna go back and browse, and yeah, we're good. Okay, now we have all those individuals, so now we're good. So all we have to do now is turn this off, and I'm not gonna save what I did, because I don't wanna save those changes to the track. I don't need the drums exploded. And we're gonna shut it down. All right, y'all, we have Logic pulled up, and I just wanna preface this with a couple things. First of all, I am using Logic, but you can use any DAW to do this. In fact, I do this on my iPad Pro sometimes. I have some DAWs in there. What is it? Audio Evolution Mobile Studio I've used. Aria I've used. I've never done specifically this in Beatmaker 3, because Beatmaker 3 is basically like an MPC. So I usually do the MPC part in Beatmaker 3, but you can use any DAW. Second thing is, the sound you're gonna be hearing is coming from this, my old Anchor Soundcore Motion Boom. This thing sounds great. Here, I'm gonna play you a snippet. Yeah, that thing sounds great. So I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna create a new track. I'm gonna close this one. Not gonna save anything because I didn't do anything to it. Don't wanna save anything by mistake. Audio input on this is gonna be no input, because we're not gonna record any audio, but this is gonna be an audio track. So the first thing I need to do is go up here to where it's 120 BPM. And we got to change that to 152, right? Because we know that it's 152. Now, if you're planning on doing like pitch shifting, or if you're planning on doing like vocals where you're going to use like auto-tune or something like that, you need to know what key your track is in. But I don't use auto-tune. In fact, though, I do have it. The only thing that I use is like the choir feature, because it's really good for like making background vocals when you're too lazy. But like, I'm not trying to pitch correct my stuff. I think that human voices should sound like human voices. Yeah, I'm dragging these into here, and now I'm gonna create new tracks. I'm gonna hit OK. And then I'm gonna convert file. It's gonna say change project, but instead I'm gonna convert the file. So we're gonna convert it to how my projects are set up in Logic. And then here we go, let's listen. So it's on beat, so that means that everything was done properly. And All right, so now I'm gonna go into that second section, right? This is just a folder with the tracks. I got it open. I've got the thumb drive plugged into my laptop. Now I'm gonna go over again to the second sequence. So, oops, I'm opening up the same file. And we're gonna go in here now. And I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm creating all new tracks for these. I'm not gonna use the same tracks, and I'll explain why after they get imported in. Create new tracks. All right, and so now we've got our two sections. Let's listen to the second section. Okay, we are good. So I'm gonna solo this track right here that says drum program drum. And this is gonna have all my drums on one program. I'm gonna get rid of that. So we're gonna go here, delete it. I'm gonna right click it, delete track, boom. And you see the drums are still there. It's just a weird thing that happens. So now the first track is the bass. I'm gonna move these around. These are the guitars down here. I want the bass and the guitars to be separate. And I'm just gonna name them kick and clap. Just gonna stay on this section right here. This one's the clap. Let me go back to like the kick and everything and add verse to that. And clap, verse, and close hat, verse, kabasa, verse. And now I will do the same thing for the chorus. The reason that I keep these two separate is because for the arrangement purposes, it's just gonna make everything much easier for me to do. Like, I'm going to presumably chop this, not the chorus. The chorus will stay relatively the same, but the verse, when you're arranging your songs, right? You don't want your first, second, and third verse, for instance, to be exactly the same. So later on when I arrange this, which I'm not going to be doing in this video, you guys can actually comment if you want to watch me arrange the song below, and then I will make a video doing that. But for this purpose, from here on out, we're just going to use the plugins to get the sounds we want. Now, the other reason for this is that, so this guitar here that says slide, right? I'm going to solo this. This is the same as this dirty guitar here, right? So I use the same settings for those guitars, but I don't necessarily want them to sound the same because I want to give my song some shifting dynamics. And so that's another purpose for me to do this. Also, at some point, I'm going to create a bridge from the combination of these two. And I'm going to take pieces, I'm going to chop pieces. I might take the kicks and cut out some of the hits in certain parts, take out some of the hits of the hi-hat. I might duplicate the little pieces and make new ones. And for those purposes, it's good to have these two separate sections like this from the jump. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to hit X on the keyboard and open up the mixer. And we are going to affect let's start with the bass. So I'm gonna X out of this, and we are going to solo only the bass, and we're gonna start here. Now the bass track is here. I forgot to do one important thing, one very important thing. So I'm gonna select all of my tracks here, and now I'm going to right click on this, and I'm gonna change this to stereo pan for all of the tracks. If you're using Logic, just do that, you'll thank me. So now I'm gonna unselect all the tracks, and let's hear that bass again. So I won't worry about EQing it or anything right now. We're gonna go over to my plug audio units, and we're gonna go to Neural DSP, and Parallax X is the bass plugin. So that's already a pretty cool bass sound. I don't necessarily want something that's that distorted though. So let's go through and play with some of these presets, and then perhaps I'll mess around a little more with the bass track. But a preset's usually good for bass, to be honest. I think I found it on the first try, but let's try some other ones anyway. That's kind of cool. Let's see it in the mix. Clean with a bite. I bet I'm gonna like it. I like this one. Let's see. Okay, now I'm gonna compare that to what I found before. So I was in the Tom Doyle settings, and it was modern bass. Was modern bass drive, vintage P bass drive finger? Or was it jazz bass drive finger? Let's see. Like that. Let's compare that to the Neural DSP one that I had clean with a bit of bite. All right, clean with a bite is the winner. So that's what I'm going to use for my bass. Now for the bass, I can use the same plugin on both. So I'm going to go over here to my other bass. I'm not going to play it even. I don't need to. And we're just going to turn it on. So that was clean with a bit of bite from the Neural DSP, clean with a bit of bite. And now we got our bass sound. So that's cool. Let's hit the solo button, get rid of the solo on the bass. And why don't we do the dirty guitar for, let's do the slide guitar. Slide guitar, slide chorus, okay. Solo it. Let's try the Tim Henson plugin for this. That already sounds good. Let's turn on the doubler. So this plugin gives you 3 different versions of it, right? So it's got this fire symbol down here. And then if we click over, that's like a slightly gritty version. And then this is a clean version with this rose. That's much cleaner. I like the... But let's go through some of the presets again. So I'm gonna try Tim Henson's worst lead. So I think I found my guitar sound for the slide already. Let's go to the clean guitar, and then I will mess around with the Corey Wong plugin. So I'm gonna get rid of that. Let's go to the clean. So again, we have a similar setup with 3 different amps. One of them is the dirtier one, which is where it started. And then we've also got like one that's in the middle. This one's the Corey Wong Clean Machine is the name of the amp. And this one is the DI Funk Console. So that kind of is conjuring like Motown setup. Like if you know anything about Motown, they had their own custom DI setup. So all the basses and guitars were DI. Nothing was mic'd amps as far as Motown's concerned. And Corey Wong, if you know anything about him, Wolfpack, anything like that, he is definitely a fan of that sound. So let's see what it sounds like through this. That's without it. Let's see that middle amp. The amp snob. I'm kind of partial to this middle one. All right, let's go through some of these presets. like this one. That's good for this sound. That's the bubble, okay. We'll remember that. Too hairy, I don't want that for this. Pop rig is kind of nice. So what I'm gonna do now, let's hear this. Let's go through some of the effects. So these are the pre-effects. That's kind of cool. Let's check. This compressor's already on. Now let's check from the color, and this, I'm gonna guess this is like a clean, like a transparent drive. Ooh, that ain't very transparent actually. I like it, but not for this. These are the amps, these are the cabs. I'm not gonna mess with that. This is the EQ. I kind of like the EQ set the way it is. Time-based effects. Some reverb. There's a chorus. Ooh, I love it. Let's see that in the mix. I like that one. So I think that one will actually become something. I'm kind of taking a little break from finishing up songs just because I have a backlog. I have stuff that's been finished since like 2021 that I want to release next. Which, talking about releases, go check out One Step Closer, as I mentioned earlier. It's my new single. Band is going to be playing it. We have a show in Highland Park this coming Saturday, which is June 7th. We're playing at 5 o'clock at the Music Garden, LA. It's next to the brewery over there. If you're from LA, you'll know, because Highland Park has kind of been a cool place that people have been hanging out. What did you think of the Neural DSP stuff? I thought that those amp models sounded great. I was shocked at how easy it was to dial in a sound that I would actually use. Because I don't tend to use modeling plugins that much. I tend to, if you guys that watch the channel will know this, I tend to get a sound going into the MPC, affect that sound, and then that's it. And by the time I go into Logic, like what I'll usually do is I'll create a guitar room, right, to give it some ambiance, and I'll create drum rooms and stuff like that. But that's really the only effects that I'm adding. I'll create a room with like the Motown chamber sound, one of those reverb chambers from Universal Audio or from Waves. And then that's pretty much it. But this is kind of nice because I kept just the regular clean sound direct into the MPC that I used when I first recorded that song. And just with these presets and not even doing much tweaking, like I messed with the effects a little bit on the Corey Wong, but I didn't do any of that with the bass or with the Tim Henson. And those plugins sound phenomenal in my opinion. And Let me know what you guys think. I think they're totally worth it. Thank you to Neural DSP for sending me these. I really, really appreciate that. I really wanted to get my hands on a quad cortex or a nano cortex now, hearing what these do, and especially knowing that the plugins, at least some of the plugins, are available in the rig, and you can take those with you to a gig. Because I currently use an HX Stomp, and I do like that, but to my ear, and I've never actually used Helix native, right? But from what I understand, they should sound about the same. These sound a little bit better in my opinion. So be nice to get those and take them to a gig like the one I have to play this week. Hint, hint, Neural DSP. Let me know if the process was helpful, showing how to bounce down those tracks. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about before I go is the MPC software 3.5 that just released. So I tried it out and I was a little underwhelmed, and I might make a video just kind of ranting about it because I've been using the MPC for years now as far as standalone goes. And at one point I was like, well, I have the MPC, it comes with the software, I should learn the software. And I spent like a week learning the software. And the software is completely different from the standalone units. And it always struck me as just kind of dumb that they have these two formats, right? And you can clearly tell that they put a lot of their focus, Akai does, into the standalone, right? And once you kind of learn a little bit about the standalone, you can get going and it's easy. But the freaking software is ridiculously difficult to use. And I'm someone who uses Logic, I've used Pro Tools, I've used Reaper, I've used a lot of other DAWs. And that MPC software does not function in a similar way, in my experience, to other DAWs. And I think that they're just missing out. Make the software as simple to use as the hardware. The hardware is basically a computer that has a DAW inside of it. So then why would you make your DAW not exactly mirror the hardware that people love so much? That's crazy. And if you guys want me to make a full video about that, let me know in the comments and I will. And I'll talk about some of my gripes. But yeah, Neural DSP, amazing.